The assessment feature within Schoology is one of the best features of Schoology, I think. This will allow us to get really in-depth questions for our students to answer, and today we're going to just keep it very simple and look at the surface level of how do I create an assessment, and then down the road we will take a look at some of the more advanced question types. All right, so I'm in an area called resources, and so I just wanted to throw this out there as an idea for you guys. Resources are kind of like a filing cabinet where things can be stored. They can be in your personal filing cabinet, they can be public for all Schoology users to use, or groups. Inside of groups, this is where I create and save things for, like our templates for the district to use at each building level and things like that. Okay, so inside of personal, there are defaults. These first few here are all default ones that have been created. I created a collection called assessments, and to create a collection all you do is you click this add button here and you give it a title. All right, so but this idea of I want to build my assessments ahead of time that I can pull into courses down the road. So if I go into my assessment filing cabinet drawer or my collection, whatever you want to think of it as, inside of there I would most likely add subfolders based upon the subject that it's for, and then I can put subfolders inside of there for the unit and you know, get in as in-depth as you choose to. But otherwise I can just go to add an assessment. Okay, so I can start to build out my assessments. I'm going to actually jump out of this one and back into a course, because you can see that when I first start adding an assessment here, it doesn't give me as many choices as what you're going to see in a second when I go to a course. All right, so it just wants me to name it and to give it points, and then it'll start to let me build out the questions. We're going to contrast that with if I go into a course, because of course you can always do things multiple ways. So if I'm in a course, here I am at the beginning of the year, and I would like to do a pre-test for my students, so I can add an assessment here. Okay, had I created it inside of resources ahead of time, I would come down and I would say import from resources, and I would navigate to my assessments folder and I would pull it in from there. It would be listed here and I would import. But in this case, I just want to show you the difference. You're going to see that this first screen now looks very different from what we saw previously. Okay, so I wanted you to be able to see all the features here. So this is just going to be a pre-test. I'm going to leave this as ungraded. It's not going to be worth any points because it's a pre-test. All right. If you have multiple sections, you of course can customize this if you choose to. All right. This is something that I want it to be visible. Oops, sorry. The availability of it, I want it to be available on August 31st until, let's see here, we want this available at, why is that not typing? We're going to go 7:45 a.m. and I'm just tabbing to get between those sections here. Submissions, do you want them disabled? Do you want them enabled, enabled until, or enabled from and until? So right now, if I left it as disabled, even if a student got in there and they saw the pretest label, they wouldn't be able to click on it and do anything because because it's been disabled. But I really love this enabled from and until. So again, I'm going to set this so that it's going to be available on the 31st at 7:45 a.m. And I'm going to go again, I want it to be only available for them to submit that day, okay, until 11:59 that night. All right. Passwords, you can put a password on there if you choose to, and you would just enter in the password there as far as what you want it to be. You can always come back and change that later on. I believe it lets you also see what you set the password as, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Still learning along with you guys, but if you have multiple sections linked together, you're probably going to want to customize your start times because you don't want kids who have you the last period of the day seeing at 7:45 in the morning. Okay, so just know that that's an option there for you as well. As always, we can individually assign this particular assessment. So important if you have grading groups and you have different versions of the assessments, not a pretest, but a normal assessment when you have an adapted version of that assessment. I would highly recommend creating a grading group and individually assigning that assessment to a grading group. I would not turn on the grade statistics, okay? And for you guys, you'll be able to copy to multiple courses. I have over 50 courses, as you can see it says, so I cannot use the copy to courses feature. All right, so, but that's just kind of creating the general framework. Oh, I guess I told it I wanted a password, but then I did not put one in there. Oh, all right, let's just disable that. Create. All right. So now it's ready for me to begin building out my assessment. And you can see I've got 4 tabs across the top. If you were creating this in resources, in that filing cabinet, you wouldn't see the grading or the reporting tabs, okay, because you can't grade something if it's not been assigned to a class yet. And in fact, we're going to ignore those 2 tabs today altogether. Setup. Here is where I can put some instructions. They can only see these before they begin the test, so this is not visible to them after they begin the test. Okay, so if you have something like a formula sheet that you want kids to refer back to throughout the test, this is not the place to put it. Okay, you can put links in here, you can insert images, you can insert symbols, so all of the assessment features in here do allow for, the math and the science symbols and things of that sort. I can put tables. There is a spell check in there for you if you need a spell check. All right, things like that. And then all the features. There's so many different features. You can put a time limit on there. This being a pre-test, I'm just going to give them 5 minutes real quick. Just kind of tell me what you know. Do you want the questions to be randomized? I'm going to say yes to that. Again, this is all just for you to choose. What do you prefer? All right. And do you want them to be able to see the possible points during the attempt, etc.? The assessment toolbar, for those of you who give CDT tests, this might look familiar to you as far as the types of things that they can do in here. They can flag questions for review, meaning, hey, I want to come back to that later. I'm not 100% sure on that. They can eliminate answer choices. I love those 2 features for them. Do you want them to use a calculator, a ruler, a protractor, a highlighter, or a notepad? All those things I'm going to leave as no. But depending on the type of an assessment, you might want to turn those on. In the student settings, do you want them to be able to see the results afterwards? And if so, do you want them to be able to see the correct answers or not? I'm going to say yes, but I don't want them to see the correct answers. And I'm going to allow my students to try this 2 times. They can take this assessment twice. Now, they weren't able to see the correct answers, all right? But I'm going to let them take it twice, and then you get to choose whether you want their score to be based upon the highest score or the last score, meaning the second time that they took this assessment, okay? And so I'm going to go last score on that. This one, I said it was ungraded anyways, but just in case I change my mind and I want to go back and make it worth points, then I can always do that. All right, so I'm going to hit save, and down here it is prompting me to go ahead and add questions. So I can do that from this link here, or remember those tabs across the top. This is how you can always get back and forth between the tabs. On the left here, these are all the assessment types, and I know you can't even see them all because my face is blocking some of them. All right, but I had to move myself over here because there's a lot that goes on in the lower right-hand corner later on that I'm going to need to be able to click on. So remember I said that students can't see text that's on your setup tab. They can't see that once they begin the assessment. If you need them to be able to have a text box with information, like for instance that formula sheet or anything like that, maybe it's an image that you want to put in there. All right, so I can, this is visible to students after they begin the test. All right, so I can put in whatever text I need them to be able to see as kind of like the first item that they would come across once they begin the assessment. I'm going to add multiple choice just to keep this simple. Okay. All right, so I'm not even going to put, actual questions and answers. That's answer 1. We're just going to call this answer 1, and then we're going to cheat, and we're going to copy and paste. I don't type very well while I'm being recorded and talking. So, all right, so let's get a couple. Question 1, answer 2, and answer 3. I know it's very original. Please notice that in every question box and in every answer box, you have the option of putting images in there. That's super important, especially for our lower levels. The pre-readers that we have, kindergarten, even first grade, even some of your struggling readers in second or third, pictures sometimes are very, very helpful. And it's not a bad thing for the upper levels as well. There's plenty of times where seeing a picture, maybe it's something about a map. You want to have the picture of the state up top, and then they could pick from the answer choices below as to which capital is the correct capital for that particular state or something like that. All right, so it defaults to giving you 4 answer choices. I can eliminate answer choices here, okay, by clicking the X. You can always add more in, so say you needed more than just 4 answer choices, you could, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those, okay? And down here is where I would pick the correct answer. So I would just identify this is the answer that I'm looking for. Not only can I randomize the order of the questions that students see, we did that in the setup tab, but here I can randomize the answer choices for them as well. Maybe they need to pick the 2 best answers. You can say multiple responses, and then I can select 2 correct answers. Or if I had, 6 or 7 answer choices on here, I could select the 3 best or something like that. Now, please note that the Schoology does not tell them how many you're looking for, how many answer choices they're looking for, so you would need to do that inside of the question text here. Tell them, select the 2 best, whatever from below, best answers from below. All right, these items down here, oops, I forgot to talk about this, the scoring type. So if you have 2 as being the correct answer, do you want a partial match or an exact match? Okay, so can they get still credit if they just pick one of those correct answers? All right, so now I'm going to save. And in the 3 dots here, I can edit this, so if I needed to make some changes, but I can also make a copy. All right, so you can make copies of your questions and then edit them. So let's just go in. I just want to put 2 questions in here very quickly. Question number 2. And then let's say we're not going to do multiple on this one. We're just going to pick answer 2 and save. All right. Now these are drag and drop, so everything can be reordered as you see fit. You can adjust. Now I had said originally that this was not going to be graded, but I can make it worth as many points as I want. That one had 2 correct answers to it, so I'm going to make it 2 points. Nothing's going to actually go in the grade book because I said that this one was ungraded, but it would also give the kids, just an idea of how they did on the assessment. So let's see, what does this look like? You always have a preview option up top here. And you can see it has the title of the test. And remember I told you that there was that area. Remember I put that in there. This information is not visible to students after they begin the test. I can never get back to this first page here, okay, without submitting and then attempting again. It will also let them know how many times that they can take this test and how many attempts that they have remaining. I see this just because I'm a teacher. You'll see this as well. All right, but nobody else sees that. Students don't see that. So remember I put in a text area as being number 1, my first page of the assessment. So this information is visible to students after they begin. I can be on question 3 and come back to question 1 and still see that text, okay? Up top, they tell them, how many questions there are and which one they're on, gives them their time on here as well. I want to come down and show you, well, I'm going to go ahead and hit next first. We'll pick an answer choice on this. And you can see that it randomized my answer choices. I want to talk about this menu here. You can expand or collapse the toolbar to get the descriptions as to what those symbols mean. Okay, they can go full screen or not. When they eliminate answer choices, it actually crosses it off like that. I can't pick the correct answer choice. You can see that little symbol there with the A with the line through it, letting me know, you can't pick it. So I have to actually turn that feature off before it's going to let me pick my correct answer. I don't remember what I picked for my correct answer, so I'm probably wrong on this one. I don't know. But again, as I said, you would need to let them know if they need to pick more than one correct answer. Flagging it for review. By flagging this particular question, I'm going to get off of it for 1 second so that you can see it puts this little underline underneath the 2 to let me know that that question has been flagged. Okay. There's also accessibility features. Maybe you want to, your students need to change the color scheme of it or the font size, something like that, just to kind of make it easier on their eyes as they are testing. So just letting them know that those things are available to them. I'm going to go on to question 3, and I'm going to pick, I think answer 2 was my right answer there. I have to review before I can submit. I don't see a submit button or a finish button or anything like that until I review. Review is also up top here. Okay. Now, I can look for unattempted items. Unattempted, number 1 will be unattempted because there was no answer that I needed to choose for that. So the text ones will always be considered unattempted. I can look for flagged items and then go directly back to it so that I can review that before I finish or submit. If I had something that I did not answer, I don't know if it'll let me, I guess once you pick an answer, it doesn't let you not pick an answer. I guess that's a good thing. But had I not attempted that question, had I left it blank, it would still let me finish the test without actually answering it. But it does force you to go into this preview mode so that you can or review mode, excuse me, so that you can see what's done and what's not done. So it's not like Google Forms where you can, force them to answer every single question before they submit. but I'm just going to hit submit or finish, and that's it. That's done. Lastly, if I wanted to edit, copy to a course, I can delete this entirely or save it to resources so that I can, reuse it in the future. All right, so those are quick little, I know it wasn't fast time-wise, but that was just a surface level view of assessments.